Carnivore didn't work was the thumbnail for a video we released a year and a half ago. And in that video, we talked about how we had so many amazing benefits, yet there were a few things that Carnivore just wasn't doing for us that we felt like was promised to us almost, right? By all these carnivore influencers. So I'm JJ. I am a life coach and I eat mostly meat.
I'm Eric. I'm a novelist and I eat meat and microbes.
And in this video, we're going to revisit some of those issues and maybe see if any more have cropped up.
Yeah, I think we should.
All right.
So when we made the video in December of 2023,
yes.
How long had we been doing carnivore?
By that time, I'd been a year in, a little more than a year.
Right, which means that I had been a year in minus some months of not doing it right.
Mm-hmm. As in not.
And so here's the first thing that we said it didn't do.
I'm hypothyroid, and I'm really hoping for a reduction in my medication. I have not seen that as of yet.
Still hypothyroid, still on medication. So at this time, I was taking 30 milligrams of Armour Thyroid daily. And I am happy to report 8 months after this video, I was able to cut my thyroid medication in half. And I'm taking 15 milligrams daily. But yeah, the proper human diet, some good iodine a la Dr. Elizabeth Bright, and things definitely trended in the right direction.
I would say that sleep is not promised to be better on a proper human diet. As a matter of fact, all the videos I watch, people say that maybe they get less sleep, but they get by on less sleep. I have terrible sleep. I have had terrible sleep for a long, long time, and it is still that way. Although I would say that maybe I'm more rested with the sleep that I get.
So with sleep, as I had said in the video, it wasn't really promised to be better on carnivore, but I still had an expectation that I wouldn't feel terrible all the time. But I was not sleeping as of this time.
No.
But one big change in carnivore-ish made a huge difference.
Definitely food related.
And that is when I switched my eating window to the beginning part of the day rather than later in the day, which means that if I stop eating by, say, 5 p.m., my sleep is demonstrably better on carnivore.
And at this point, in December of 2023, we were still done eating at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were late night snacking or having popcorn.
For me, that's late.
That is true.
That's almost bedtime.
But it wasn't like we were doing really late night things. We were done by 7. And yeah, just that 2 to 3 hour. In the winter, we tend to eat a little earlier.
Yeah.
But that 2 to 3 hour shift made all the difference in the world. And you had tried everything to promote sleep for decades.
And that was the change.
And that was the change.
Because of the nature of eating very low carb and not having the blood sugar cycles, my overall energy is fairly consistent, whether or not I get good sleep.
So my energy was overall consistent, but what I didn't say, but could have been inferred, was it wasn't very high. So while I wasn't having afternoon dips, I wasn't having any morning charge either. It was even but low. Meanwhile, the Energizer Bunny over here is running circles around me.
Yep.
Whistling doodah all day long. And it was only recently that I felt like my energy has stepped up to another level. And that's more than 2.5 years in.
My blood sugar used to average in the 80s, generally speaking. I'd have a nice low 70 something when I woke up, and it'd be in the 80s. Of course, there would be peaks and valleys throughout the day. Since I've been doing the proper human diet, my average is actually around 100. Now, I will say that there aren't a lot of peaks and valleys. It is a very steady blood sugar, yet the average is around 100. And I know Dr. Barry says don't worry about that. Yet I'm like, well, but why?
Well, why?
Why?
Why isn't it 70? It should just be 70.
Yeah.
Pre-carnivore, my fasting glucose was in the 80s usually, so not too bad. That was not where my metabolic issues lied. But Then as I went on carnivore, it started to creep up and it was averaging about 100 for my, for my morning glucose. Now, the doctors say that's the dawn effect. It's not a big deal. It's not pathological, yet it concerns me. It was a niggling concern. And I'm happy to say it stayed that way all the way up until my last blood test, which was in June of 2025, when my fasting blood sugar was 87. So yeah, that's the first marker of blood sugar coming back down into the 80s that I've seen. So, I mean, that's 2.5 years in as well.
It'll be interesting to see if it sustains.
Yeah, we'll see. I know that that's just one marker and at one point in time, yet I certainly felt really relieved to see that.
Sunburn impermeability is not something that I have experienced. I may be overstating it. It may not be impermeability, like total invincibility under the glaring noon sun. I'm outside a lot in the summer, and I've got plenty of sunburn on occasion. So I don't know. Maybe I just haven't done it long enough, or maybe there's nothing to it.
I get sunburn a little bit in the spring when my pale, naked skin is first kissed by the rays of Wisconsin spring, and that little pinkness fades, and then it's over. As a matter of fact, I've been out in the direct sun a whole bunch. I get tan. I don't get burned. It's a mysterious phenomenon. Maybe it's because I don't have the seed oils in my body. Maybe it's just magic. I don't know. But it seems to be the case. How about you?
I, too, will get a little pink the first time in the sun, and it fades over a few days, and then I'm just tan all year round.
Some people who follow this are able to sort of eliminate their cravings for sweets. And this, to me, sounds like Bigfoot. No. I have a terrible sweet tooth. It is never going to leave me, and I satisfy it with stevia all the time. And that's probably to my detriment.
I have experienced less cravings of sweets at times.
My cravings for sweets are storied and have existed for as long as I've existed. And I actually, for a long time, believed it was a generational problem because, my mom and dad had it. But giving up artificial sweeteners was the thing that had to happen. And when I did it, I don't really think about sweets, and I definitely do not crave them when I do. So, check.
Well, and in this video, we talked a little bit about the holidays as well. This was coming right off of the holidays. Mm-hmm. And we have only seen our holiday consumption get more and more aligned with proper human diet and carnivore without trying. It's what we want to do.
Yeah, just kind of happens.
Benefit of a proper human diet that I was really, actually, one of the top reasons I was doing it was trying to optimize my lipids. Mm-hmm. I'm not particularly concerned with LDL, even though every doctor I see is just horrified. I'm concerned about triglycerides and HDL in particular, and my triglycerides are apocalyptic.
Yeah.
And my HDL is so measly and puny.
It's puny.
Like 33 or something like that. And it doesn't matter how much beef, bacon, butter, and eggs I eat. There's something else going on. Either I need more time doing it to let my body adapt, or there's one or two particular things I need to not eat, or I don't know, maybe I just need to accept this is the case for me.
My lipids are improving. After this long battle trying to get HDL to come up, I finally had them just like more than double from January of 2025 to April of 2025, just like that. So some flipped. Triglycerides is still a little bit high. It tends to be in the mid 100s, but I have just had a blood draw. I'm waiting for the results, and I'm hopeful to see a continued improvement there because it just seems logical that if the HDL switch is flipped, maybe that trig switch has also flipped. I'm also seeing has been very gradual when we look at the NMR profile, the fractional blood lipid panel, where we're looking at the LDL particle sizes, that I'm getting improvement in many phases of that. And the very last sticking point is the particle count of small LDLs. And I feel like I'm right on the verge to seeing that finally come down. But if you follow this type of stuff, those types of things are typically beautified by Carnivore, and it's just taken me a long time to see the results.
And I think it's important to mention that for a long time you were like, oh, my trigs are just still high. They're still high. They're still high. And then you plotted them.
Yes, that's true.
And you said, no. They're still high, but they're trending downward.
Yeah, they were stepping down. So gradual process. And maybe there was a tweak to Carnivore that made a difference, but I don't know what it is.
We have made significant progress since December of 2023, continuing on with this way of eating. Yet there are still a few things that we have left that we're working on conquering.
Yep. Such as?
Well, for me, I feel like it's my last little thing. I'm doing great. I'm feeling great. Eric's talked about my high energy many times, and especially in this video. Yet I keep getting a couple markers that aren't great. And so those are my HSCRP has never, ever been below a 1, ever. And in my last blood test in June, it was a 2.1. So there's still some sign of inflammation in my body. My CIC score was 0. So it doesn't seem to be a cardiovascular thing. Yet I always run this low level of inflammation. So I'm very curious about that. And then the other thing is something that I couldn't even consider until I felt so good. And that's my HRV measurements. And that's heart rate variability. It's always low, really low.
Where are you getting that measurement?
So I'm getting this measurement from our 8 sleep at night when I sleep. And maybe you can go, okay, that's one measure, one device. Maybe it's not that accurate. But I also get it through my Apple Watch with an app called Welltory or Welltory. I've heard it pronounced both ways, that takes my HRV throughout the day. And so finally, I felt like, wait a minute, let's just pause a second here and go, why do I feel so great, have all the energy in the world, but there's this inconsistency with this inflammation marker and these HRV markers? And so I did a little chatting with AI. And I also do a Dutch cortisol test with my integrative practitioner. And so I fed all my results in, and chat said that my free cortisol was a bit high and my morning cortisol was high. Now, my cortisol curve used to be crazy reversed back in the day of adrenal fatigue. So the curve is fine now, but these are still high. And it said, and I said, well, okay, and why do I feel so great? And basically it said, I'm quoting this, so I'm reading, you might feel ready to hustle, but your body is under-recovered and overstimulated, not building long-term resilience, your sympathetic, dominant, chronic stress. And this happens a lot with high achievers, and that's the story of my life. So I have really been working on resilience. And this was because I was noticing some of my recovery. I was having a little recovery issues all of a sudden. So I am really working on not overdoing it, doing some of those restorative things, doing some cold plunging, but only when I'm well recovered. We've also introduced ferments, and I'm hoping that helps with things in my body. Maybe that's where some systemic inflammation, maybe it's coming from my gut. I don't know, but those are the two things that I'm really have been focused on highly in the last 3 months.
Those are big.
Yeah, and I think they're lifelong things. that have plagued me forever. So if I can get those taken care of or improved or trending in the right direction, it would be incredible.
So I had a 0 CAC score in 2023 and then a 11 CAC score in 2025. Early this year, I did it. I've been working with Dr. Ovadia, and I don't at all think that carnivore is what caused the calcification. I think that it's very obvious that the 2023 CAC score, I had soft plaques that weren't picked up, and they have since calcified, which, depending on your point of view, is probably a positive thing because they're less dangerous when they're calcified. But I think it's all part of this big project that I've always had since before carnivore, which is try to reduce my cardiac risks, my coronary artery disease risks, which I perceived were significant. And I would say that I feel like I am more on track now with that than I have ever been. And I'm not super concerned about the progression, but I will be doing another CAC, in a year and seeing what the rate of progression is, or hopefully none. Only when I see that will I know that my protocol is working. And then I will say, yes, carnivore is doing what I want it to do in that regard. As far as energy, I feel like I've really turned a corner on energy, but it is not where I want it. I want what she's doing with energy, but I don't want all of the negative overstimulation of sympathetic nervous system. So I'm just going to keep staying the course. I'm really getting back into doing high intensity workouts, obviously trying to get enough recovery, and I'm working quite diligently to get more nutrition in. And one of the beautiful things about adding the ferments is that it has allowed my satiety signals to be delayed enough that I can get a slightly bit more meat down the hatch, because I am quite meat averse without something else going along with it. So that's been one of those things that's been a tweak that has been, I think will be helping to recover from these hard sprints and hard resistance exercise bouts. But here I am, we're in the middle of 2025, so I'll be 55 in a few months. And I am going to be, and am, really in the best shape of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, I think that's the underlying factor with carnivore for both of us, is that even though we still have things we're working on, we are in the best shape of our lives and feel better than we have in decades.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Mental health, digestive health, like not feeling gross and bloated and in pain all of the time. My skin is better than it was. One of the things I want to point out is, look at us from that video a year and a half ago. I don't have the same facial shape anymore.
No.
And so, just that's evidence alone. We say carnivore didn't work in that thumbnail, but it's working very obviously. And what I like to recall is it's something that I've heard Dr. Sean O'Mara say many times, is like, look at yourself. Take photos of yourself, because if you see the changes for the better, that's a huge, strong indication that you are getting healthier. And that, of course, you do look at the blood panels, but you don't manage to the blood. You manage to the appearance and the symptomology. Mm-hmm. And the blood labs are clues to why you have the symptomology. The blood labs aren't a symptom.
No.
And I think Dr. Kiltz would say that too.
Oh, yes.
So even with my concerns about triglycerides and HDL, and yours about blood sugar, these are tweaks really for our own mental kind of security and satisfaction. And don't really have that much to do about how we feel day to day.
No.
So with that, I'm going to say that carnivore is working.
Oh, I agree.
And that we hope that you join us eating the proper human diet so that you can be every day stronger,
Every day more blessed.